Japan is headed towards its own security clearance system thanks to two bills that have been proposed in the legislature there. Hi, this is Lindy Kaiser with ClearanceJobs.com. We've covered a few times Japan's move to create its own personnel security clearance program addressing classified information across not just the government, but also industry and the private sector there. They've been meeting with officials in the U.S. and have kind of picked up some tips from that system there. Legislation has been proposed prior, but has not been passed due to privacy concerns. Government officials, leaders over there, based on the news that I'm reading, it sounds like they're a lot more optimistic about the legislation today, and this could be a positive move for Japan in the codification and classification of information. It's a newsworthy thing. Japan is the only country in the G7 that does not have an industrial personnel security program of some type. Having something that around classified information, protecting classified information that is in both the public and private sector is key to information sharing across government. So this is a positive move, something that actually commercial companies in Japan have been pushing for, saying, hey, they don't always have the opportunity to work with industry, other partners in other countries because of the lack of protection of information. Again, what the security clearance process does is it truly does create some boundaries around, hey, what can be shared, what is classified, and then penalties for failure to protect that information, which is incredibly key. So the legislation proposed in Japan for their security clearance process would grant security clearances for a 10-year window based on checks of family members, some other checks. Certainly seems a lot more service than what we do in the U.S., but again, it's a start. It's getting something on paper, and then very importantly, creates penalties. So if someone fails to adhere to the requirements of their security clearance and shares classified information with unauthorized parties, creates those penalties for both prison time and financial penalties. And that's, again, the crux of it, because when you don't have a framework for that, a lot of information can go out the door. That's really terrible for your personnel security, for the security of your country, also terrible for your economic security. So there's always a lot of talk and chatter in the U.S. about the U.S. security clearance and classified information process. A lot of people like to banter about the number of people with security clearances. Our mantra here is always, you want the people who are handling classified information to have some form of vetting. It's not a bad thing to have a security clearance. Having too many people with security clearances, what you want is the penalties and knowledge around what is classified, who has access to it, and then what happens to them if they disclose it in a way that's not authorized. So again, this is what Japan is creating now. Two bills. One related to the information, others related to the individuals. Again, that's how it's codified in the U.S. I would love to learn more again about the Japan system, because I think what they're creating, as they create those classification markers, a processor kind of looking into what needs to be classified every 5 years. The declassification and overclassification issue, a huge one in the U.S. The opportunity for a country starting from scratch, and again with a lot smaller footprint around this, is to say, hey, let's look really closely. Yes, we want to classify information. Yes, we want to protect information. No, we don't want to overclassify, and we want to have a system in place that we're rechecking that information, saying, hey, does this still need to be classified? If it doesn't, let's declassify it. Then we're not protecting more things, creating, again, this monolith infrastructure that we have to develop. So again, my takeaway always in the U.S. is anytime somebody talks about two people with security clearances, I say, let's talk about declassifying information first. Again, Japan, as they create this system, they're doing the personnel security side, doing the classification of information side. I'm certainly hopeful that this will get passed. I think it's important for them as a member of the G7 for information sharing efforts, for their ability to really compete on the global stage when it comes to global economy. Again, because there is so much related to supply chain related to economic security, and we really need to have our allies, the folks that we are sharing with information with, keep some kind of holds on the information that we share that's classified. So it puts us in a position for the U.S. to share better threat information with other countries when they have a system to protect what we're sharing. Again, better for economic security, better for foreign policy, better for the way forward in terms of how we share intelligence and information. So more on that. But again, it looks like Japan moving forward with a security clearance system of its own. Always, for more news you can use around the security clearance process in the U.S. and everywhere else, visit us over at ClearanceJobs.com.